General Motors is reporting success when it comes to sales. The Detroit automaker says its second quarter profits jumped 15%.
This comes as vehicle prices hit an average of nearly $50,000. Joining us now is auto industry expert and editor of Headlight.News, Paul Eisenstein. Paul, thanks so much for being here.
Great to be with you both.
So what does all of this mean for the auto industry?
Well, it's good news for everybody, it seems, but investors. The numbers were very, very good for GM. What was it, if I remember correctly, about $4.4 billion, $3.06, if my memory serves, in terms of profits per share. So those numbers are great. In fact, they exceeded Wall Street estimates. But as we've been watching the street in recent days, you notice things are a little bit crazy right now. Stocks that should be strong have been weak and vice versa, and the auto industry still can't seem to gain momentum. So even though they did better than expected, made more profit per vehicle, made great revenues, the stock was down several percent.
And we know cause and effect comes into play with this. What does this mean as the trickle down for consumers, anyone possibly looking to buy a car?
Well, taking into account some of the other data that's been coming out lately, it's not great news because we have seen the auto industry push to near record levels. It's almost $50,000 for the average vehicle right now. On top of that, there has been a weakening of credit, according to Experian and a couple of others out there, which means some people are going to have a little harder time getting the sort of lower, reasonably low interest rates that they need to buy a car. So it is a bit of a difficult time, yet the market still seems to be growing. Not as fast as a lot of people would like, but the market still seems to be reasonably healthy.
And what do you make of all this inventory? We're seeing such a huge inventory, and it seems to continue to climb.
Yeah.
What does this mean for GM and the other automakers right now?
Well, in general, automakers, you have to remember, had such incredibly low inventory for several years due to COVID, the factory closures, and then, of course, all the shortages of semiconductors and other goods. So if anything, that helped drive prices up. And now you're seeing that the manufacturers have almost begun to overproduce. And that is one thing that I think does worry analysts, because if they don't control how much they turn out, which means the uncomfortable decision in some cases of slowing factories, maybe cutting shifts, they could wind up with too much inventory. We're already seeing, here's the good thing for consumers, we're starting to see the return of incentives.
Now, let's talk about electric vehicles and how that can come into play with some of these numbers.
Yeah.
I know there's still a struggle there for a lot of these automakers.
If you listen to some of the analysts, one of the reasons that GM is not doing as well on the market today, even after reporting great earnings, and one of the reasons why people are already signaling they're not going to be happy no matter what Ford does tomorrow, is because of EVs. We know that EVs still are low profit, and in some cases, many cases actually, they produce zero profit or even cost manufacturers money by the time they sell them. And so there's pressure on GM and on Ford, and of course other manufacturers, to start to rethink their EV game. Last week, Mary Barra, the CEO of GM, signaled, hey, maybe we're not going to make our target of going 100% electric by 2035. So we're going to see some changes. And one of the things that's going to be very interesting to see is how Wall Street reacts now that, well, just moments ago we heard that Tesla had released its earnings and it didn't do very well. And part of the reason is that they're also seeing declining sales. Now, I should stress, let me stress, EV sales on the whole are going up. Tesla's about the only manufacturer where EV sales are down.
Isn't that interesting?
And why is a big question. More competition, clearly, but there's also some concern that Elon Musk, who has made a turn politically to the hard right since he acquired Twitter, now X, may be alienating a lot of his customers, potential customers who don't like his political positions. And that's actually helping GM, Ford, Volkswagen, Kia, Hyundai, and all the other people trying to get into the EV business.
And what do you think we can expect for Ford for earnings?
Ford will probably be up slightly, but probably not as much as the street is going to want.
All right, clearing the way there. Paul Eisenstein with Headlight.News. Thank you for your insight as always.
Thank you.